Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an excellent game to share with you from round 4 of Norway Chess 2025. On the white end, Magnus Carlsen playing against Arjun Erigaisi. Okay, the opening we have here in English symmetrical. Let's see where we break from the symmetry. Rook b1, knight f6. There we go. Typical plan in the English, queenside expansion, shooting for b4, denied. Now, this idea here, rook b1, a3, looking for b4 is played with this knight on home base. The bishop still has a clear view of d5, holding up any d5 advance. From here, it's d3, e6, knight f3 only now. And after castles, these next couple moves by Carlsen, there is a focus on c5. Bishop e3. Have to do something about this point here. Normally not a move you play in general, obstructing a center pawn like this, but it has its points. What are you going to do about c5? Well, black plays queen e7 here. Not the only way to defend. You could go with the pawn, but I believe in playing queen e7. Black has his eye on maybe still going 2 steps with the pawn, grabbing space in the center, hinting at a possible fork idea. Now, what's a very common move here? You would think castles. I mean, that's one of the moves the computer points out here. It's not what we see in the game, though. What we have here is knight to a4. Firing away yet again on that c5 pawn. Now, there's a big difference between the two. This is one of the moments that grabbed my attention in this game. What's common? Castles. Why isn't castles being played? Why is knight a4, the move in the game, being preferred? Well, if you castle, this is where black could expand in the center. Has some space. Are we okay entering this structure here to address this follow-up d4 move? Not a structure that Carlsen maybe wants to see. Doesn't want to play into this. So by first playing knight a4 here, what's happening? Well, Carlsen's given direction to this pawn. There's only one move. Only one good way to defend the pawn, d6. There we go. By first playing knight to a4, this has influenced the d pawn. It's more than just, okay, let's generate a threat. Deeper point, I've limited your d pawn. Only one step for you. Only now do we see castles. Now, it's not all positive here for Carlsen. There's a downside with committing this knight very early on. c3, a4, 2 steps for this knight. b5 is no longer under control by that piece. This encourages rook b8, and now b5. Right around the corner, the b file is going to be cracked open. What are we looking at there? Potential problem for white on b2. The rook, the bishop, coordinating there. Follow up from here, we have d4. Carlsen still hammering away here at that c5 pawn, and black's response is to give it up. Ends up capturing here. This sparks a chain reaction of captures. How the computer wants to play it, it says hold your ground. You're not married to b5 here. You could play b6 and hang on to this point. And you could play in this way without fear of any tactics on this now unprotected knight. The rook is off of that diagonal. There wouldn't be a wonderful knight move with the discovered attack on this piece here. Now, I want to caution you here. In playing b6, there is a sort of test you need to run, and that is, am I going to be okay if my opponent plants a pawn in my house? Once d4 is in, if you're not breaking up that duo might advance and be disruptive. So here's a question before playing b6. Am I going to get hurt If white carries on with d5 here, the answer would be no. This would be a healthy structure for black at the end of the day. Black would be able to capture. What we're being pulled into here is a Benoni structure, 3 versus 2 majority. And in this situation, this knight is poorly placed. This knight really wants to be back here on c3, and the pawn wants to be on a4, holding up this b5 advance. Evaluation here, it's looking at it about minus 0.5. Okay. In this game, we do not see b6. It's the capture on d4, knight recapturing. Bishop's eyes opened up. Problem here on c6. Knight for knight exchange. Bishop recaptures. b5 is in there. B file now opened up. Rook targeted. Falls all the way back. There's only one vulnerable point in black's camp. The a5 pawn. Isolated. Unprotected. It's targeted. Now, what are you supposed to do to defend the pawn? Black's play from here is bishop to b7. That's considered top. He gives up the a5 pawn. Trying to defend it, there's really not a good way to defend it. Look at these bishops. They're really taking away a lot of squares in black's camp. If you're going to try to hang on to this a5 pawn with queen c7 or even d8, I had a look at that one. This is not a stable square. You're asking for that final piece to enter into the mix. Discoveries right around the corner. And also queen d8, there's a cute move here. If you're trying to hang on to the pawn like this, the queen is no longer around covering this a7 square. This rook is nearly trapped. Bishops are covering all the squares there. There is a way out to save the rook here, some bishop d7, but in that position, the queen could go all the way back home and say your rook is under fire and your d6 pawn is under fire. So trying to hang on to the a pawn, not a good idea. What is best? Bishop b7, light square bishop exchange, queen is the correct way to recapture, knifing into white's camp, robbing white of that flight square. A pawn is picked up. Now, what you must do at this point as black, you have to work with what you have here. And the only thing black has going for him is this central majority. It's now able to roll. E5 hits with tempo. D5, you might as well say, hits with tempo as well. Queen, knight supporting it. D4 is a threat. Response here, bishop G5. Any other move, it's saying black is for choice. Okay, follow up here, D4. What do we do now? Where do we go with the knight? Nowhere. The knight doesn't currently have a good forward move. Now, in such a position, if you're considering, well, I'll just go to A2, you could probably just stop your calculation right there, because if you're running in reverse in this wide open position, it's rarely going to be a good idea, a top idea in the computer's eyes. If you're playing knight to A2 here, just putting it on real quick. If you play knight to A2, excuse me, there's knight E4. What are you doing with your bishop here? It says best is to go all the way back home. This is not the way to be playing. Knight retreat, bishop going back home. Your rooks look clueless. The way forward is to meet this move in the game D4 with bishop captures knight. Looking at the forward moves first, a capture of the knight. This now paves the way for knight D5 with tempo. Bishop G5 from here. At this point, the knight backs off, goes to B4. It's on a nice central square, but doesn't have a convenient defender. Queen doesn't like having this responsibility. It's not like the pawn is established here, securing that piece. Right around the corner for black, rook a8, queen c5, the other rook to c8. You're looking at getting the queen deflected from its defense of the knight. So it reroutes, hops to a stable square. Queen's eyes open up to e5. This last move paves the way for a pin, d2, now unprotected. Bishop hops to it. More exchanges. We're pulled into a major piece specific ending now, where Carlsen now on move maintains the queens. This is the best chance to try and win. The move we have here is queen f4. If you take here on d4, going into this rook-specific ending, white is up a pawn. It says this is holdable. It's not going to be so easy to continue to advance this pawn here. Okay. What do we have in this position here? Queen stay on board. Queen f4 it is. Central pawns exchanged. Queen b7, not just to any square. Where is she going to be the biggest pest? Right here. Knifing into white's camp. Taking away that flight square. Okay, 2 can play that game. Both queens taking out those flight squares. Back rank issues for each side. Now, this is where black slips up. It says it's still about equal here. Let me throw this position 2 as a pop quiz. What move would you play here? Can you spot the top move in the computer's eyes? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, in the game we have rook e6. Sensible on the surface. This queen is such a pest on f6. Let's try and kick her away from that square. Now, top here is h5. Now, how it plays out in the game, after rook e6, Carlsen goes for a rook exchange. We see rook d8 in response. Rook takes rook. Queen captures rook with check. King has to step up to g7. And then the queen from d8 is able to go all the way here to this nice central post with check. Covers a base point. From there, Carlsen is in a perfect position to roll with his extra pawn. We see b4 from there. The rook ideally placed right behind it, supporting its every advance. h5 is top in this position. 2 things going on. 1, a new square has opened up for the king. Has access to h7 as a flight square. Number 2, right around the corner, h4 can be a move in some cases. If there isn't going to be white piece around holding up this idea, h4, h3 mate on g2 is an idea. This can be very disruptive. Now, if this top move h5 was played and Carlsen went for this same rook exchange idea, rook d8 here, notice how things would be different. The king now would have access to a much more secure square. h7, not exposed to any diagonal checks. If he tried, Carlsen in this position tried running with the passed pawn here, not the same. Queen not as well positioned on d8. And from here, black had already started generating threats. What are you doing about the mate in 2 here? Capture on f2, g2, h2 to follow. You better be careful in such a position as white how you defend f2, just to highlight how quickly things can go wrong. Let's say you defend on b6. Okay, you're losing after h4. h4, h3, mate on g2. Super disruptive. You'd have to go with a move like this. Different story here, but now there's ideas of rook e4 and h4. Okay. This is considered an equal position right here. h5 is top in this position here. One tactical note, if black tried to pick up this pawn that's faulty, it's a poison pawn. Rook captures pawn here. There's a couple ways you can respond. Both are winning. Rook captures rook with then rook d8 or rook d8 straight away. That's the cleaner approach. If you take in this way, we're eventually going to be looking at what? A queen versus rook imbalance. There's no fortresses here for black, but I guess you could dream of one. The clean way, should this pawn here be picked up, would be with rook d8, because in the end, you will be winning a rook. Okay, how it is played out in this game. After queen f6, we see rook e6, rook d8 check, pair of rooks comes off. There we go, the queen. Nice central post with check, and the b pawn starts to run. From here we have h5. You could ignore this idea of h4. The b pawn runs. Rook b6 blockades. Pop quiz. How would you respond here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, about 5 minutes was spent here. Top move played, rook e1. You got a vulnerable back rank, mate and 2 threat. Rook e8, either major to h8 for mate. Back rank covered, rook still hops to it. We get the rook exchange. Now, before going in for this rook e1 idea, he had to calculate this queen ending and know that there would not be a perpetual. Black tries for one, but it's not there. Queen e1 check, e4 check, king f1. Now, black could go in for this pawn, but the queen will be very misplaced, and this passed pawn will be decisive. The queen is a really good piece here, covering b5, f2, 2 vulnerable points, watched over. The general idea from here, move the king towards this pawn. When you're close to that pawn, it will assist in preventing follow-up checks. Queen will also help out. Let's see this in action. A bunch of checks flicked in here. The king walks a tightrope here along the e file, and even a cute little move flicked in here, in my opinion. King right here in the center. And he says, you know what, let me just take some time out and flick in h4. Everything is covered now. What are you supposed to even do at this stage? All right, queen d3 from here prevents the king from approaching this pawn, but it also gives up a square here. On c5, the queen hops to it. These two still covered, the b pawn ready to roll. Check on f5. And after king d6, black resigns. There's no perpetual here. Now, when I saw this final position, I really didn't fully appreciate just how good this queen position is in this position here. You could go with a check on one of these two, but they immediately run out. Like, you could make 2 moves in a row. Like, where's your check? No checks here. No checks on the C file. Even if you're over here on the A file, A5 will be covered after B6. A7 is going to be covered. The plan from here, there's nothing stopping these consecutive moves, really. B6, B7, B8. Get a new queen. Okay. It only goes as far as king D6. Black here resigns. Anyhow, what are your thoughts with this one? Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.